Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network and another episode of the NFL betting card this week for the conference championship. Yes, just 2 games left in the NFL season. I'm sad. Spread and I were talking about that and how I'll probably just need, I don't know, I'll be curled in a ball on Monday with only just one NFL game left, because for me, it's NFL and everything else. But we got to talk recap of the weekend. We got to talk about Jayme's Packers. We're lucky to have Jayme again. I got to talk to the guys what they thought about, obviously, last divisional round weekend. And then we will dive right into these 2 games and find our best bets, as we always do. So, Spread, I'll go to you first. What'd you think of the divisional round? You were a little skeptical. Did it live up to the billing for you?
Yeah, I was absolutely wrong. After the first game, I messaged Tyler, right? Because the Ravens put that game away, right?
Yeah.
First game, I knew it wasn't even going to be close. And then the last 3 were so exciting. And the way they set it up with the Chiefs and the Bills being the main event, it was just a lot. And I couldn't believe how good that game finally was. So tough for Buffalo fans. I mean, it looked the same. I mean, are you old enough to remember Wide Right? Because I remember seeing that live.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it live, but wait, one of the Super Bowls.
I'm talking about Scott Norwood.
Yeah, Scott Norwood. That was the Super Bowl. Yeah, that was, I believe, the Super Bowl before Washington beat them, or was it the Super Bowl after Washington beat them? Because I definitely remember the Washington. Ages me. I remember the Washington Bills Super Bowl where we.
The Wide Right was the Bills' first Super Bowl appearance. So you guys would have won the next one.
I think we were the second or third.
Because the first one was the closest.
The Wide Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. The other ones weren't as competitive.
Oh, yeah. We beat the hell out of them. I know that. So, and I do remember that. So, yes. Yeah. 4 Wide Right. Okay. Any other thoughts about divisional weekend spread?
We'll get into them as we're breaking down these games going forward. So I got to hear what these guys have to say.
Yeah, Ty, let me go around.
I'll just say I stand corrected. It was a great weekend of football.
Love it. I'll go around the horn here. Tyler, what did you think? What were your thoughts overall on divisional weekend? And any early thoughts here before we jump into the conference championship?
Yeah, I think a lot of the games went the way we thought. I was wrong on the Houston game. I thought they were going to put up a little bit of fight. Baltimore just pounded them into the ground. Jayme's Packers fought a lot better than I thought they were going to be able to. I think the weather helped them out there too. San Fran, when they play in the rain, it almost looks like those cartoons where like people would slip on banana peels. Like they just can't play it when the ground's wet. They lose like all football abilities. And I mean, I think the other game went pretty much how we thought. Detroit, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay put up a little bit of fight through the air, but Detroit was able to sneak that game out in the end. And yeah,
that was a fun one to watch.
Bills Chiefs lived up to all the hype. Until the end, because I think we deserved an overtime thriller ending, but somebody can't make a field goal, so it is what it is.
Oh, that's a tough kick, dude. 44 yards outside in the wind.
But still, we all deserved overtime in that thriller of a matchup. That's why that overtime was implicated for that matchup. We deserve.
I have a friend that was a really good kicker in college, and he went to UTEP, and he could have gone pro. And I literally think that Scott Norwood scarred him, because the reason I say that is he used to say that to us all the time when we talked about Norwood. Yeah. And he's like, a 47-yard kick. I mean, it's not like he missed an extra point, right? I mean, he missed a really tough kick. So they put him in a tough situation there. Allen should have probably dumped off.
I just said Allen should have gotten him closer. It was one thing taking a shot on that second down. He couldn't get enough on it to the end zone. The third down, Kincaid was coming open across. He should have got them a little closer. So anyways, Jayme, your Packers, I thought that you guys were going to pull out the upset, and I was just going to be like, Jayme was right. But you were right in that, they looked awesome. For a lot of the game, they looked like they should have won the game. How are you doing post Packers game? I know you still got to feel good about this team, but how are you doing after the game?
Yeah, it's weird because going in, I was like, regardless of the outcome, still going to be optimistic, still going to be happy about the future. But I won't lie, it stung the way it panned out, because the Packers should have won that game. In reality, that game very easily could have went just how the Dallas game did. Just the issue, Packers settled for field goals in the red zone inside the 10-yard line twice. They went for it on 4th and 1 at the 5 or the 15-yard line, didn't get it. First 3 possessions drove down. Darnell Savage dropped a pick 6 from Purdy on Purdy's first possession of the game. So it was, and right when it happened, I was telling my wife too, I was like, you just can't do these things against this team. Like you can't drop easy interceptions. You can't settle for field goals. You can't get stopped on 4th and 1. And they still had a good chance to pull it out. It didn't happen. It was heartbreaking because, the whole time, like, it's going to be tough to win the game. I liked him to cover 10, but then it's the 4th quarter, and then it was like 9 minutes left, and then Aaron Jones broke that like 50-yarder, and all of a sudden we're on 40. I'm like, okay, wow. All of a sudden in my head, and I knew I shouldn't have, I started thinking like, tomorrow could be fun, watching get a bag and to think who's going to get a play. And it didn't happen, and that's unfortunate. But like you said, the future is still bright, and I still feel like the Packers showed why they should be there, that they still think that they're going to be one of the top teams in the NFC next year. Of course, Love didn't look good late. That throw was just classic Brett Favre. Like I have nightmares of seeing Brett Favre doing throws like that. But he's young, and they're going to grow from that. All the other games ended up being really good. Like outside of Baltimore, Houston, it ended up being a blowout in the second half. But all the rest were really good. The Baltimore Chiefs one, like they said, I really thought we were about to get some OT, which would have been really nice, but we didn't get that, and we should have just backed the best quarterback on the field in Mahomes. So we're going to probably touch on that same situation here coming up. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of, obviously, we just have the 2 games on Sunday, and of course, it starts with the AFC Championship. Chiefs at Baltimore at 3:00 Eastern. Let's see what we got. The total on this one is at 44.5. So, fairly low for the playoffs. So I want to get your guys' take on that one. But Spread, I'll go to you first. What are your, I guess it's not so early thoughts. What were your early thoughts in the week, and how do you feel now about this game?
For
Chiefs, Baltimore. Yeah.
The Chiefs and the Ravens?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough game, Egg. I see why the line is where it's at, because I think at 2.5 they would have simply taken too much Ravens money. And the way I'm looking at it now, at 3.5, it's really hard to discount the Chiefs here. However, the Ravens did have the most dominant performance last weekend. They do have the defense to keep the Chiefs down. And it could be another blowout. I like the way that the Ravens should be able to run the ball against the Chiefs defense. They've had the best running attack all year, and we've seen a lot of teams have tried to do this to keep Mahomes off the field. And I know the offense isn't as high-powered as it was when Tyreek Hill was there, but still, these guys can move the ball in chunks. They can score. Should be an interesting matchup. Right now, I'm leaning toward taking the 3.5 points with the Chiefs because I've made good arguments on both sides, but I haven't committed yet, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this game.
Absolutely. Clyde in the chat mentioned a teaser. I know you guys hit the teaser last week. Tyler, are you thinking about a teaser? What are you thinking about the spread for this game?
Yeah, I don't mind using the Chiefs as a teaser leg here, teasing them up to, what would you get them at, 9.5? I think that's a solid leg. To be completely honest with you, I think the 3.5 is the spot. Bet the money line too. Jayme said it. It's the best quarterback in the game. Do I want to sit here and keep being the guy that bet against God who's playing quarterback right now when we watched Brady do it for how many years and people just flush money down the drain? I mean, how many teams rolled up against Brady and everyone went, well, this is the better team. They have the better defense. And Brady went, okay, I'm going to the Super Bowl. I think Mahomes is going to be the same way. Mahomes has lost 2 playoff games. They're both to the other guy everyone called God, and Tom Brady. Lamar Jackson has
he lost to Burrow.
Well, okay, he lost to Burrow and Arrowhead. So there's one other loss. I don't see this Baltimore team beating them. I don't know what it is. Baltimore's played very well. They have all the pieces to do it. But I think in the end, these coordinators for the Chiefs are going to make these Baltimore players make some mistakes. And their offense will be able to put points on the field. It's going to be an ugly game, but I think the Chiefs gut it out and get the win.
Okay. We got 2 takes now. Jayme, I need to hear yours. And I'll throw in something that's kind of shifted things for me. Do you think Mark Andrews' element plays a big factor in this, whether you were a Ravens backer or not, and where do you side on this game?
Yeah, that's interesting because Isaiah Likely might be better than Mark Andrews. You know, like I don't think that's like a crazy. Mark Andrews is good, so I don't want to like discount that. But Isaiah Likely is really good, I think. But I don't think it hurts at all to have Mark Andrews back. So I actually got in on Baltimore -3 on Sunday, right after the game. 3.5 to 4. I'm not too interested. I think the best way to target this game, if you want to get Baltimore, is to take the 2.5 in the first half. I think that, and that also kind of helps when we talk about the worry with Mahomes, right? And I think that comes into play mostly fourth quarter, you know, and we saw it. I think, what was it? Buffalo was up 4 or 7 points at the end of half, I think. Last
I'm
week.
trying to remember where it was
Yeah,
at the end
they
of
were
the half.
up. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was 4. I think it was 4 points or something like that. But then the Mahomes effect really came across late, you know, and that's where he's going to be the most impactful. And Baltimore is at first in the league in first half point differential. They actually have the points allowed in the first half. I think that's going to be, if you want to target Ravens now, that it's not going to come down to 3 again. You know, it might come back down to 3.5, but even that, like, I get it. You know, 3.5 and you get Mahomes as a dog, like, I totally get it. But I think the first half, 2.5 would be the best play. It's going to be tough. I'm excited for this game. You know, last week I thought Buffalo would be the only team that would be able to beat Baltimore, but the Chiefs looked much better. Kelsey looked much better. Pacheco is good. And Rashee Rice, I think, is going to be really good too. You know, he didn't have the game last week, but that's because Kelsey had the game. But I think it's going to be a good matchup. Mahomes is actually 10-1 when KC allows less than 31 points in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy, right? Because 31 points that's a good chunk. Yeah. But kind of what Spread was saying, Kansas City's defense ranks 3rd in EPA per dropback, but they rank 28th in EPA per rush. So I think that they're going to try to utilize a lot more Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. I think we're going to see Lamar run a lot more. I don't think we're going to see them try to force the ball down the field. So, like, I would like some unders in, like, Zay Flowers or things like that, because notoriously, anyways, the Chiefs all year kind of dominated wide receiver ones, regardless. I think it's a close one. I would probably side with the under, and then I would stay away from the 3.5. You know, if someone said they're taking Mahomes and KC at plus 3.5, I think that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I think the best play would be Baltimore first half. I think Baltimore comes out strong. I see KC struggling early. And then again, I think Mahomes is going to be the most dangerous when it's late in the game. You know, when it comes to fourth quarter, I'm going to trust Mahomes more than I'm going to trust Lamar. But I think Baltimore overall is still a better team. My number actually has Baltimore by 4.5 in this spot. And I get it, right? It's a little bit of recency bias because we saw how good Mahomes and Kelsey and these Chiefs were just, you know, this last week and also against Miami. But those two teams were riddled with injuries. And I don't think Baltimore is going to be like that at all. I think Marlon Humphrey's back at practice. Right. They're going to be much healthier. I think they're a much better team than those other ones. So when I saw the -3, I was like, this is basically what, you know, it was -2.5 last week for Buffalo. And I think Baltimore is a better team than Buffalo. So just go ahead and give me Baltimore, the team that's been the much better team all year. And that's also interesting. KC went 1-4 against teams that made playoffs this year in the regular season. Of course, they're 3-4 if you count Miami and Buffalo in the postseason. Baltimore went 6-2 against playoff teams, 7-2 if you count last week against Houston. I think Baltimore is just a better team overall. It's right. Great kicker too. Right. There's a good kicker also in Kansas City.
Yeah, they're both good kickers.
Imagine where these kickers, you know, pulling a Carlson or a Tyler Bass by any stretch, but it could happen for sure. But I like Baltimore. I think Baltimore first half and the under would probably be the side that I would take.
Okay. Well, I like approaching that because I do like Baltimore to win. I mean, Tyler makes a great point. It's Brady's done it how many times? Mahomes has done it how many times? It's hard to go against the best quarterback in the NFL. But I just think they have the better team. I think they have the better defense. I think they're healthier right now. If you look at the 2 injury reports, I think, you know, Baltimore's getting healthier and Chiefs are kind of have some guys banged up. So, you know, and of course it's at home. Lamar's had some, as he did last week, some just absolutely electric games at home. So yeah, I like Baltimore to win, but the 3.5 makes me uncomfortable. So I think that's a really unique way to approach it. As far as the total, I don't know about this, guys. I mean, these are 2 of the better defenses, but I mean, Baltimore's best defense. I think they rank first in points allowed, sacks, turnovers, they got them all. And then Chiefs are a very good defense this year too. So like, you could certainly see it going under, but then with these two quarterbacks, it wouldn't shock me to go over. So I would probably just stay away from the total. How about you guys? Brad, I'll go to you first on that one.
Let me jump in and talk about some of the things that we've
please.
discussed so far, and then I'll do my total breakdown.
Absolutely.
Number one, I pretty much agree with Jayme. At this point, I don't know how much of an upgrade Mark Andrews would be to Isaiah Likely. And as far as my handicapping, that injury designation means absolutely nothing. My projections will not change at all, whether or not he's in or not. Obviously, it's a boost to have Mark Andrews in there, but I don't know how much it even affects the spread because we joke about this all the time. How much you mean to the spread or how much you mean to the team depends not only how good are you, but how good is your backup. And when your backup is playing as well as Isaiah Likely did, and they have that chemistry right now, it's hard for me to say that he would be a unique advantage. Now, we know it's going to be a hard-hitting physical game, and being able to use both of them out there, use some 2 tight end sets where both can receive, it would be huge. But I don't know if it affects the spread that much. And the hard part we talk about, the statistics are going to tell you to take Baltimore. If you run projections, right, because Jayme talked about the strength of schedule. Baltimore's had a better strength of schedule. But in football, the quarterback means so much. You can throw out, negate the other 21 men on the field if he's really dialed in like that. The other thing we've had is now we've had a little bit of playoff success with Lamar, but it has been an issue. And we know that we can count on Mahomes to deliver. Will the guys catch the ball? We don't know that, right? But we know the way that he was comporting himself when they failed to score touchdowns on the first 2 drives. And we knew it was going to be a high-scoring game, and you knew he was frustrated. But he was out there acting like a leader, congratulating all the guys on the field goal unit, even though he knew that both drives fell short. And he knew that could have been the difference in the game, right? And if the field goal goes in and Buffalo wins the toss, that might have been the difference in the game. Their failure to convert on the red zone on those first 2 drives where they came up short. The leadership you have there means a lot. Not to mention Andy Reid, I think, is such an underrated coach. If there's anyone that's going to be able to solve that Baltimore defense, it is Andy Reid. I think he's going to have a lot of plays up his sleeve, and these guys know each other well from all the time they spent together. I'm talking about Reid and Harbaugh. So they're going to know how both these teams are going to come in. Finally, not to help you handicap, but the irony of Baltimore coming in the game being the most healthy team after they've seen cursed by injuries over the last 3 years. I mean, their injury report has looked crazy. They go down to practice squad running backs all the time. They go down to practice squad linebackers all the time. I think at one point last season, they had their top 4 corners from the preseason depth chart were out. So now Baltimore's a healthier team. This is wild, and I think they should enjoy that. Now that I've made these points, let's get on here to the total, Meg. There's no way in a playoff game like this that I want to bet the over. I think this is going to – it could lose, right, because I lost my over last week on this game, right? So I'm not saying it can't go over, but I'm only looking one way when it comes to the total, and that's an under. We have multiple ways for this under to get home. Number one, it's a blowout. It's not a competitive game. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but we have to acknowledge it as a possibility. If it's not a close game by either team, this game's going under, as well as these teams can be exceptionally conservative to start the game. Nobody wants to make that mistake. Nobody wants that turnover that's going to flip the field and give them the early lead. It's not a surprise that the old cliche, right? Every time they go to the color analysis, oh, what's the key to this game? Well, win the turnover battle, right? They've been saying that since 1982, the first NFL game I can remember. When Timmy Smith, your guy Timmy Smith,
Timmy Smith,
that's my first football memory is him getting 200 yards as a rookie and really not doing much in his career after that. But great game and a great time to have
Super Bowl,
right?
yeah.
But limiting turnovers has always been the key. So I could think that we will see conservative game plans from both teams coming out. And hey, with the way Pacheco's been running, I'm fine with that. I think a balanced offense for this Chiefs is the way that they're going to win this game. So I like the under in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see that. Ryan in the chat says Chiefs offense playing really well. Clyde likes his money on the Ravens. So thank you for joining in chat. Tyler, I'll go to you. Do you have a take on the under?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't click the under. This is a perfect game where 3 quarters through the game, you're like, I'm going to cruise to this under. And the fourth quarter starts, and both the quarterbacks throw the defenses right out the window, and they score 24 points each. So no chance I'm touching a total in this game.
Yeah, that's how I lean is I just can't get there, even though the under makes more sense to me.
And to Tyler's point, it could be any quarter like that. We could have 3 quarters that trend under. It could be the third quarter. It could be a second quarter.
Right.
But he's got a good point. One explosive quarter is going to
buries you if you take.
You're never going to feel comfortable betting that under.
Right. Jayme, how about you?
Yeah, I won't bet it, but I do lean the under. I think that if you did like the under 45, it looks like it's mostly 44.5 now. But either way, I wouldn't touch it. It's just like they said, it takes 1 quarter. Next thing you know, it's your back's up against the wall and everything that looked good previously does now not look so good. So I would pass on the total in this game. When you're talking about the MVP of the league and the best quarterback, I'm good on that. I'll pass.
Right. So Jayme has a ticket on the Ravens. I actually, I believe I had bet the Ravens spread. Now that I think about it, I had bet it with like a free bet they had gotten on DraftKings. So we're more on the Ravens side. Tyler and spread sound like they're more on the Chiefs side in this one. Tyler talked about the teaser spot, so I think that's interesting. So we're definitely going to talk props and anytime touchdowns, and we're going to build a fun same game parlay to end this show. But let's go over to the second game and talk about that first before we get into the props and anytime touchdowns parlay side of things. Let's talk game number 2, the NFC, and we've got, of course, the Detroit Lions, the favorite under America's favorite underdog here is at 49ers. Niners are favored by 7. The book I'm looking at, total is 51.5. So I'll go to you first. Spread here in Northern California must have been losing their mind, as worried that they were getting knocked out last week. But how are things on the radio airwaves there now? And what do you think happens to the Niners this week?
Yeah, it just shows you how winning cures everything, because that was not a strong performance from the San Francisco 49ers there, especially on that side of the ball. I'll give props to Jayme. I thought the 49ers were going to blow them out, and he told me, no, the +10 is the right play. And he was absolutely right, because it didn't feel like that spread was ever in doubt as Green Bay got off to that strong start. One of the problems that the 49ers have had is Brock Purdy playing in the elements. And of course, I think that comes into play because Jared Goff has been an issue outdoors as well. But I can tell you, Meg, the storm ended last night. It's sunny today. The grass is growing. It's warm. Meg, it feels like springtime already. I mean, you can't tell me global warming is not happening. I got shorts on right now. So the elements should help. That should be an advantage for Brock Purdy and those San Francisco 49ers, because we've seen how much he struggled in the elements here. And I have the feeling, and maybe I'll get crushed again because I said the Packers were a little bit overvalued last week, but I feel the Lions are a little bit overvalued. I felt that they ran really well, and one of the reasons that you targeted them all off season, Meg, was not that you like the offensive coordinator.
Yes, it was. I love the offensive coordinator and my future coach, by the way.
But I'm just saying, one of the reasons you targeted this team was the end of the schedule.
Yes, that is
right,
true.
because they were indoors for everyone.
Yes.
So while the people who took Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott were playing out in Buffalo and Miami during the playoffs, the Lions were playing indoors. Let's take a look at this. When was the last time the Lions actually went outdoors? And we know this has been an issue, not for every dome team, but especially for Jared Goff. Oh, it was December 10th.
Chicago, yeah.
Today's January 25th. It was against the Bears, and they lost to the Bears. I know that's a division rivalry, so we should take it a little easier. For example, I always tell you when the Eagles lose to the Commanders, well, that's just, the way they match up. And, that doesn't mean that the Eagles aren't as good. And look how that one turned out. But my point stands that I don't know how well this Lion team's going to do. And one thing I do like, to get the medical benefits, because at my age, I needed to get the really good benefits and not the one I was paying for when I was just doing this professionally. I'm back in the warehouse at UPS, and I feel that and I know this is a small sample size theater, but I feel it gives me a good idea of where the public is betting when I talk to my friends, especially football fans who aren't gambling. A lot of them like the Lions, and that made me like the 49ers even more. It feels like the Lions are going to be this popular public dog, and we're going to be getting a little bit of value on the 49ers here. For the 49ers to cover this spread, Brock Purdy's got to play better, though.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler's mentioned it, and we can't get involved until we know. To me, if Deebo Samuel is in, I'm going to lay the 7.
Okay.
If he's not playing, I don't know what to make of this game.
Okay,
So that's
what I said.
It
if
feels
he's
like
out,
an
what do you
NBA
do?
game. Wait for the news, right? That's something we always say on the NBA rundown and the NBA betting card that we do here. A lot of times when these key players are missing, we don't want to get involved and take a side until we actually know what we're betting on.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. And Tyler, so where do you stand with or without Deebo? Where are you standing on this game?
I think with or without him, I think I bought it on the Niners.
Okay.
I think this is like, I think somebody made a very good point. Is how many times have we seen this story? Town goes crazy. They win 2 playoff games at home, go on road to play the team that everyone thinks is the big, bad, dominant team who didn't have the dominant win last week, proceeds to absolutely pound them into the dirt. That seems like it's lining up perfectly right here. Even if Deebo doesn't play, I think you get like a 24-9 finish. Like, I could see their defense just hounding Goff. They're going to get pressure on him. If Ragnow doesn't play, they're going to maul him. He has no mobility. He's not going to be able to get away from that defensive line. If the pressure's there, Detroit's offense is going to come to a standstill. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball that good with Montgomery. It's got to be Gibbs. Gibbs is going to have to break some big ones. I think Purdy, it's not supposed to rain, so I don't see his biggest liability on the field. So he's going to be able to throw the ball. Detroit has let every quarterback throw for 350 yards in the last month.
You can throw all over him, yeah.
Ayuk will do enough damage on his own if Deebo's out. If Deebo's just running as a decoy, it just makes Ayuk that much better of a play. I think Brock Purdy throws for 300, throws 3 touchdowns, and they win this game rather easily.
Yeah, I definitely like and we'll get to that in a minute, all the Purdy props, the passing props, because that has been profitable the last few weeks. You just target whoever Detroit's playing and target their passers and receivers, just like Baker and Mike Evans last week. But, I mean, I kind of still like the spread for the Lions. Jayme, where do you stand?
Yeah, I think if you could get in at the 6.5 when it opened for 49ers, that was obviously best. Some places I even see going to 7.5. DK's at 7.5. That Rivers 7.5, and the -7 is now pretty juiced up to like -120.
Oh yeah, okay. That's why I was on FanDuel. You're right.
Yeah. So like 7.5. I mean, if you can get 7.5, I think that's pretty all right. That's honestly what I have this game at personally. So I don't have a strong conviction. Part of me does think that San Francisco will kind of pound them down. Like, and it's sad, right? Because we should be talking about Green Bay versus Detroit here, but we're not. And I agree with Tyler. I think Purdy's going to absolutely smash. He said it. Detroit ranks 25th in EPA per dropback allowed. Detroit has allowed an average of 370 pass yards in the last 5 games. I mean, Nick Mullins threw for like 400 yards twice on him. And of course, some of these are, the teams are playing from behind. So I don't think Purdy's going to necessarily throw for 350, right? He might not have to. He might throw the ball just 21, 24 times, right? So it might not. But I do think he could get 3 touchdowns pretty easily here. I think he's going to have tons of success. And I think it's going to be what quarterback's going to, win the turnover battle or have the less turnovers, right? Obviously it's like common sense, right? It happened last week. Love threw 2 interceptions, Purdy threw 0. We won the game, right? And it ended up costing them. I know it's going to be warm weather, which I do think will help Goff as well, right?
Right.
I don't think it's going to be,
he's a California guy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we always think about him just being in a dome, but I think a lot of that is correlated to bad weather versus good weather. But still, this is a completely different beast than they have played. I said last week that I thought the best NFC Champship game would be Green Bay versus Detroit, like competitively, and I think San Francisco would just destroy Detroit or Tampa Bay, who they played. I think San Francisco has a good chance, just honestly, to pound them out here. Like I wouldn't be surprised if, at the end of it, San Francisco wins by 21. And I know, again, recency bias is going to tell us that San Francisco didn't look very good. And there's a lot of different reasons why they didn't look very good. But I just don't – it's hard for me to imagine this team playing that way back-to-back games after the season that they've had. I said last week, they set the record with 11 games winning by at least 12 points. And that was like the first time, the most it's been done since the 1999 Rams. Like what they've been doing this year is pretty historic. And I just don't think last week a 1-game sample size should be like, okay, now all of a sudden the Lions are going to come in and destroy them. I don't see that at all. I think San Francisco has a pretty big win. I think Lions team total under would be a pretty decent bet because overall I do think I kind of lean towards the under, but that's mostly because I'm just honestly pretty pessimistic about Detroit. Like it's hard for me to envision them having a ton of success here. I don't see, Gibbs or Montgomery having big days running the ball, although, like I said last week with Aaron Jones, that San Francisco, they're vulnerable against the run, and we did see that a little bit with Aaron Jones. The game
and I think Detroit's going to try to establish it. That is what they usually try to do. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree. I just think the game flow last week ended up helping that situation out. If you get down by 14, all of a sudden you can't run the ball, 25, 30 times a game. Right. So that's just what I kind of lean. I don't have a strong conviction. I didn't take it. I wish I would have gotten on the 6.5, but my gut kind of tells me that San Francisco might be able to roll them. But if you do like Detroit and you can get the 7.5, I think that's pretty good. I mean, even the 7's okay too. But if you can get the 7.5, then it's slightly juiced a little bit more, it looks like. But I think that would be okay if you like Detroit.
I know this.
I wouldn't let the line move affect my bet. The chances of it landing on 7 to me are pretty low.
I know this doesn't have the same built-in back effect that this same matchup did a few years ago. But doesn't this feel like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year with Nick Foles, they came off that bye week, they played the Falcons, they beat them 15-10. Everyone thought, this team's not going to be doing anything in the playoffs. They played Minnesota in the conference championship, 38-7. Yeah. I think this could be the same whole setup right here.
Okay. I mean, you make a lot of good points. Was thinking back to that 3-week span where without Debo, they lost 3, the 49ers.
Brett made a good point about that too, though.
But I was gonna say they were also without Trent.
Yeah.
And that is, was he out for all 3 of the games?
Yeah, they both missed all the games together.
Okay. Because I didn't know if Trent Williams was out for all 3. So I mean that's massive. That's absolutely huge. So, yeah, it's tough to put up much of a fight. I'm probably just staying away from it. As a fan, I'm rooting for the underdog because I love rooting for the underdog and love Detroit, the Detroit underdog story. Love Dan Campbell. They're a fun little underdog team to root for, but I get all your points. Total, you guys kind of mentioned, didn't seem like a whole lot of interest in the total. We'll get Spread's opinion when he comes back, but Tyler, do you have any interest in the total here?
I would do a San Francisco team total over.
Okay.
Just because I get the whole liking the over. Detroit's offense has looked great this year. I think there's a pathway that San Fran just limits their offense so much to where they barely cross double-digit points here. Like, they get a touchdown and maybe they kick the field goal to get to 10, and that is it. Like, I could see Goff being in shambles in this game and it just being an ugly game from the Detroit side. So, yeah, that Niners team total 30.5, I think they can get to 31.
Okay. So you like the Niners team total over. Jayme liked the Detroit team total under. Spread, any thoughts on the total here?
I think this one's got a better chance to go over than the other one. I think there's multiple routes where this game goes over. And the most likely one to me is that San Francisco wins that first half and gets out to a big lead.
Right.
And then you get the less aggressive defense that's designed to chew up clock and not actually stop, It's just like Green Bay's defense against Dallas. Well, at the end of the day, it's like, they lit up 32 points. Yeah, but all the time they were lit up the points, they weren't playing against the Cowboys anymore. They were playing against the clock. Right? I heard Mike Lombardi say that. And I thought that was sharp, right? At that point, they just wanted to keep the clock rolling, get out of there with no injuries. They weren't worried about yards per play, yards per attempt, right? It's like, Let's get out of here as fast as possible, as healthy as possible. And I understand the health won't be as much here, but I think that San Francisco offense has a great chance to put up points. You got Detroit going against the prevent. Seems like a recipe for points to me. I haven't jumped in yet, but if I were to play, I like the over 51.5.
Okay. You like the over. Clyde mentions that this is a massive challenge, obviously, for the Detroit OC. Washington fans are already celebrating Ben Johnson as our new coach. I hope it comes to fruition. I've been talking about his genius since last summer. Have loved watching his offense all year long. I will be very interested to see how he schemes up against this very difficult Niners defense, because I do think he is my future head coach. Before we get into props and anytime touchdowns, any quick thoughts on the coaching carousel? That's mine. Is I'm thrilled because I think it just needs to become official, and maybe if what you guys think happens, it'll become official Monday or so. So any thoughts on the coaching carousel that we're watching here? Spread, I'll go to you first.
I'm going to throw it right back to you.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Russell Wilson goes to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones go to Las Vegas. The Chargers have always had talent.
Yeah.
And we're thinking this AFC West is just a juggernaut.
Juggernaut, yeah.
Division of all time. Man. Now it feels the same way, but with coaches. We have the unproven guy, right? But I'm looking at my division. I'm going against Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. What should I think? Do I just have no hope as a fan? Did God just want me to be a gambler? Because my favorite teams will never win anything.
No, that's hysterical. But no, Spread, you've loved Pierce. You were pounding the table for Pierce. You got your guy.
I think he was the best available candidate. I'm just upset that Chargers finally spent money in the first time in their career, and they just didn't hire the coordinator that will work for the cheapest amount of money.
Right, exactly. No, them
that
landing
division
is massive.
Is one guy's division and one guy's division only, and I don't care who the four coaches is until Patrick Mahomes leaves. That's the Chiefs division.
Or Andy Reid, I would say. I think it's a combo.
I mean, maybe it is the combo, but I feel like even in the end, you swap them out. Mahomes is still Mahomes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whenever Kelsey does hang him up. I don't know. I don't think he's going to retire this year like his brother, but I can't imagine it's going to be much more than another year.
Seems like it's going to be pretty soon, and we talked about this before, right? He's going to go from number 4, number 5 overall in best ball, to probably second or third round pick this year.
Oh, as he should, based on this year's results.
My biggest takeaway from the coaching carousel is where the hell is Mike Vrabel?
I was wondering. He interviewed with the Falcons. Did he interview?
He walked in the Panthers building, and they told him they hired their new coach.
I mean, that's great. But I do think that might be a
Who's
good
the Panthers coach?
Canales. They hired Dave Canales from Tampa.
As the head coach?
Yeah. I think it's a good fit. He's known as like a quarterback whisperer. Like, he got Baker going this year. Then it was Gino. Actually, Jayme talked about all the stats on Canales last week. Gino and Russ before that in Seattle. So he's kind of known as the quarterback guy, and nobody needs more help than the Panthers after all they spent on Bryce Young.
Talking about your favorite coaching hire this offseason?
I heard you talk about it yesterday on the show, the Eagles defensive coordinator,
Vic
Fangio. You're like, Megan's going to.
Oh, yeah, Meg. How upset are you?
Well, we have Ben Johnson now, so I got Ben Johnson against Vic Fangio. I see your Vic Fangio and raise you Ben Johnson. So there we go.
Well,
is that like official
already?
What's that?
Is the Ben Johnson news official?
No,
or is this just the giant rumor? Okay,
this is the giant Washington rumor that basically, like, if you check off all the things, all the vacancies that are filled and what is left. Basically, what makes sense is Ben Johnson landing in Washington. So, Jayme, any thoughts from you on this coaching carousel before we get into some fun props and anytime touchdowns for?
He needs a new defensive coordinator up there in Green Bay.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I'm thankful for that. Joe Barry. I did, talk about last week how Joe Barry did play better against some of the better teams, better offenses, and it worked out well. Last week but what he did against the Giants as well, right? He plays like the too high shell defense with 6 minutes left in the game and just let you dink and dunk all the way down the field. Next thing you know, like 49ers are at like the 5-yard line with a minute left, and Green Bay's like, oh God, now we got to let him score almost. I'm like, he doesn't bring any pressure, so I'm so glad he's gone. I don't know really who the Packers will get. I kind of would like Al Harris, the Cowboys secondary coach.
I
think that's the biggest issue for Green Bay is the secondary, and there's a lot of talent there, and obviously he used to be in Green Bay. But I don't know there. As far as Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, it looks like I'm going to be losing money on another Chargers to win the Super Bowl bet. I took beginning of this year.
Take every year, yeah.
Beginning of last year, I'm like, this team is just – I'm a big believer in Justin Herbert. Like I think he's top 5 for sure, in my opinion. And they just have so many weapons. Obviously Mike Williams got hurt, and that didn't help. But they just have so many weapons. I thought their defense was going to be better than it was. I'm willing to lose money again. So as soon as here in a few months when those come out again, I will bet on the Chargers to win a Super Bowl, and I'll probably be. I know.
The problem with the Chargers is their defense is the Phoenix Suns. They have these 3 high-profile players, and they spend so much on. And now this will change next year because I don't think Khalil Mack's coming back.
No.
Okay.
But they have these 3 high-profile players. They have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and Derwin James, who all take a bunch of money up. And then you have below-average players at the rest of the positions. And you look at it and you see, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, right? But you don't take advantage of the fact their inside linebackers actually kind of below average. The corners are kind of below average. Derwin James replacement, and he only plays 4 games a year. It's kind of below average. So I feel like they're the Lions, where people who play a ton of fantasy are going to love this team and kind of overlook the talent on the defensive end of the ball, because I don't think it's the coordinator's issue. I just think that they load up on a couple big name players and they're not there. But hey, I could be wrong, because Harbaugh took I keep saying Sacramento. I don't know why I think the 49ers play him like that. The San Francisco 49ers, he took him over from Tom Sula, I believe. Barely changed the roster. It's not like he came in and did a wholesale change. He came in and he took the players he had and he made them better. So maybe all these players that I say are below average, after a year under the coaching of Harbaugh, under the discipline of Harbaugh, the fact that he teaches technique and doesn't just scheme up plays, maybe all these players that are rated below average will be above average, and you finally win your bet. So I really don't know what to make of his hire. And for me as a Raiders fan, it was the worst possible news I could read. Why don't you go back to college? Why don't you go to the NFC South where it's nice and easy? Oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. And it's
definitely not good for you. It's not good news for you.
Who do you guys like better, Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh? I mean, it's just unbelievable what we have to deal with. You like Harbaugh better?
Harbaugh, yeah, I think.
Interesting. Who would you rather have, Jayme?
Harbaugh, for sure.
Over Payton?
Yeah.
How about you, Tyler? I'm surprised.
Can I just go with neither?
You don't want Harbaugh or Payton?
I don't think Harbaugh's a good NFL coach.
Who do you think is a good coach? You don't like Tomlin, you don't like Harbaugh, and you don't like Payton. This is unbelievable.
I don't like
Andy Reid. He likes Andy Reid.
Tomlin's like buddy system with the locker room. I don't think he's a bad coach. My thing about Harbaugh is like when he did it with the Niners, didn't he? After he made the Super Bowl, it was like, all right, after so many years of yelling at $1 million guys like they're college players, how long are they going to take it before they just go, listen, buddy, I make like 10 times as much money as you. You're not going to yell at me like I'm a college kid. I'm not dealing with this anymore. I think he worked.
That's probably true.
They got rid of him. He's going to do the same thing for the Chargers. Maybe he puts together 2 good years.
But it works short term, just like Thibodeau in New York.
I think the guys are just going to get tired of it after a period of time. The owner will get tired of it. We know how the owner is. He's not going to be there long. I say 4 years max.
Really? Okay.
How will we do in those 4 years, though? I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not disagreeing that style is not meant for longevity. And that's kind of why I didn't really want Harbaugh to begin with. I'd like to have, all the best franchises have stability. Look how long Reed's been with the Chiefs.
Right.
Belichick 3 bad years for the Patriots. We'll move on from him.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that he can do a lot in those 4 years before they get tired of him. I think the first year they love it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're coming from a straight nerd like Brandon Staley, where the practice probably felt like going to Planet Fitness.
Oh my God.
That's the free zone.
To Jamie's point, I'm like the Michael Scott gif. I'm ready to get hurt again, but in the best ball streets, maybe not as much in the future market, because the last 2 years I've been so on the Chargers, and they just get riddled by injuries. And by the end of the season, you're like, well, there's my Charger best ball shares. Most of them are donezo. So, yeah, I'm ready to get hurt again with him at the helm in the best ball streets, which, by the way, I believe actually starts the week of the Super Bowl. So we will be starting best ball content.
They start that early this year?
They did last year too. It's called the Big Board. They don't do the Best Ball Mania, and DraftKings releases theirs much later, but Best Ball Mania releases like the night of the NFL draft ends. And
yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was after the draft.
It's called the Big Board usually, and it's basically released like Super Bowl.
That's
Saturday.
Weird. How do you even draft?
Because you're drafting rookies and just like basically
you don't even know what team they end up on.
Yeah, you're drafting rookies without
that
knowing where
sucks.
they are.
You draft the running back and he ends up going to Detroit.
But you're all time boxed the same way, right? So like, yes, you do need luck to fall that way, but you're all time boxed. It's not like you're drafting with guys that then have the information. You're time boxed in.
Okay,
you know what I mean? These people are drafting Super Bowl Saturday through, well, if it fills before the NFL draft, through the NFL draft. And then then we have the news of the NFL draft, and then that's when the Best Ball Mania opens. And so, Steve and I will be doing a lot of recap articles and content starting next 2 weeks, and then right into the 2024. So that'll be fun. Now, speaking of fun, let's talk about props, anytime touchdowns. That's always a good time. I know I had fun on Sunday with those, some of those Tampa props and props on Sunday for sure. So I'll go to you first, Tyler. Give me a couple of your favorite props that you're eyeing up this Sunday.
You want favorite props or favorite anytime touchdowns?
Let's do props first, and then we'll do anytime touchdowns next. So I like props right now.
I like Mahomes' passing yard to 243.5. I think that's kind of low. I don't mind holding that up to 250, 275, 300. You can get some nice prices on that. Lamar's rushing yards at 66.5. Mm-hmm. I bet you that's like 70 something by the time kickoff. He's going to run a lot on this defense. If Willie Gay goes out with the injury he's been dealing with, he's going to run even more on this Chiefs defense. I don't hate Mahomes' rushing yards at 26.5. We've seen him when the offense starts to sputter, he'll just use his legs and run away. He also tends when he runs, I swear he runs for chunks of like 15 to 20 every time. So he can easily break that 26-yard run in one run. So don't hate that one. As for the receiving props, I mean, Kelsey and Rashee Rice are in the 60s. You could go that route. Justin Watson at 16.5. Somebody else is going to have to catch passes for this Chiefs team. Or are we going to bank on Marquez Valdez-Scantling making miraculous catches 2 weeks in a row? I'm not going to go back to that well. I think that well dries up after 1 week. I think Justin Watson can get that 16 yards and one catch too. He's a deep ball guy, so 16.5 on him. Don't hate that. And if you could find alts on Justin Watson, I don't hate those. Like a 25 plus is plus 140. 40 plus receiving yards is plus 270. 50 plus is 4-1. Those are all passes Mahomes can get in one pass. So I don't hate the Justin Watson props this week. I'm not touching Marquez Valdez-Scantling. As for the other side, I think Jayme's right. I would rather have Likely than Mark Andrews right now. Okay. I think they're going to limit Mark Andrews to red zone targets. I don't think he's inside the 20s, up and down the field, because why? If your whole goal here is to win a Super Bowl, why is your best offensive player outside of Lamar coming back half hurt and you're going to use him all the way up and down the field? I think they only use him in key situations. The under 35.5 on his receiving yards, I think, could be an easy play, because I think he maybe sees the Laporta situation from his first game back after the knee injury, where he gets like 2 catches, 14 yards, and he scores a touchdown. So those are some props I like in that game. In the night game, give me Brock Purdy's passing yards, his passing touchdowns. I think both of those are easy. Ayuk's receiving yards. You could even go CMC's receiving yards. But I also think this could be one of those ones where it's like, oh, Detroit's been a pass funnel all year. They haven't really let anyone run on it. And here comes CMC for 120 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and that rushing defense went right out the window. So that 86.5 on his rushing yards, I think, could be a play too. Plus, there's no Debo to steal those rushing attempts. I don't see Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell stealing many carries, maybe 1 or 2 just to give the guy a water break. So he might just get there on volume alone. So those are some props I like in those games.
Okay. Give me your three favorite. If you did whittle it down to like, these are my three favorite that I would absolutely, yeah.
Both quarterbacks passing, Mahomes and Purdy.
Okay.
They're over on theirs. And that Justin Watson over 16.5 receiving yards.
16.5. Okay. Like it. Okay. Jayme, give me your three favorite and it can be regular lines, whatever you prefer, but give me your three favorite props.
Okay. I like Gus Edwards over 9.5 rush attempts.
Okay.
They're going to definitely try to get the run game going. I think he'll have a lot more success this week than last week. And also last week, he didn't play much of the fourth quarter. He's getting like his hand wrapped. And
he got hand banged up. Yeah.
And then I kind of agree with Tyler on a couple of these. So I have CMC over 35.5 receiving yards.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that obviously a lot more if Debo is out, but either way, we've seen Detroit. I think they're like bottom 10 in DVOA against pass catching running backs this year. And then I like Brock Purdy over 2.5 touchdown passes at plus 170. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I would love to have over 1.5, but that is like, I think that was like minus 200 or something.
Right,
like that.
right.
I want to do that. So give me the over 2.5 at like plus 170. Those will be three.
I like that. So yeah, I mean, I know Tyler mentioned the yards and passing, but we'll do the yards for Tyler and the passing touchdowns for you. So you've got Edwards over 9.5 attempts, CMC over 35.5 receiving, Purdy 3+ touchdowns at plus 170. Then Tyler, you've got Purdy's over yards, Mahomes over passing yards, and Justin Watson over 16.5. I think those are good, and I'm going to add three more. We'll stick with the Purdy theme. Ayuk does great against man coverage, which Detroit runs a lot of. We saw what Mike Evans did last week, with or without Debo. Give me, I'm trying to find it now. Ayuk.
It was 80.5.
It's a big line, yeah. Actually, let me check Kittle really quick too.
I think Kittle was 61.
Okay, maybe I'll play it safer. I'll go Kittle on the sheet, but I don't mind alting if you think Ayuk just has a monster game.
Yeah.
So Kittle and Ayuk, I like those. Let's see. Let me go over to I kind of like I like the attempts call, but I kind of like Justice Hill too. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Jayme?
Yeah, I like Justice Hill.
Mentioned. I asked because you mentioned Edwards.
Gus. Yeah, I like them both. I think I do prefer Gus slightly, but Justice Hill's probably a little lower, isn't it? Anyways,
he's so explosive too. 33.5 is, I think, a number that he can blow past. Even if, I mean, they even before Edwards got injured, they were basically, they're a lot like Montgomery and Gibbs. They're just splitting time, and Hill seems very explosive. So give me Kittle's over, Justice Hill's over. I'm right in lockstep with you about the Purdy over touchdowns, over passing. Give me Lamar's over rushing. It's going to be so high, but I just think he's going to have to you mentioned it, Tyler, but I'll make it, let's make that official to add Lamar rushing. Because I definitely like that. No matter what the game script situation is, just like last week, he got 100. I think you can certainly bet his line, even if it does get to around 70. So that covers our props section. Now, our spread, you got to jump into this anytime touchdown action. I need your favorite anytime touchdown for Sunday.
Meg, I'm going to surprise you here. I'm not just.
You're not doing a Monra?
St. Brown video.
And I don't have Mike Evans. So, what are we going to do here?
I'm going to try and take advantage of a recent trend and something that I'm really happy with Andy Reid for actually embracing in the 27th year of his career. But it's running the football. He just got the memo. You're actually allowed to do that, right? You have these things. They're called running backs. You hand them the ball, different blocking scheme. But I say all this in jest to tell you that I'm going to take Isaiah Pacheco.
Love it.
It's hit in 5 of the last 6 games. Mm-hmm. They put him in shotgun and they snap the ball straight to him. And they're running that 13 personnel 3 times as much in the playoffs as they were in the regular season. And when they do run that bigger package, Pacheco is averaging 5.5 a carry. Baltimore, 27th in EPA against 13 personnel. And Pacheco has a rushing TD in 3 straight playoff games, 7 total TDs in his last 6 games. Give me Isaiah Pacheco to score a touchdown.
Love it. And can I tell you a quick tilt story? I had Pacheco touchdown. I had Josh Allen touchdown last week, so I got those individually. Okay, great. And then I was like, well, let's have fun with this. And I bet them both 2 touchdowns. And then I did 2 touchdowns together. Got Josh Allen too. Pacheco has the one. He has that one run down the sideline. I was like, please get in. He did not get in. And then the next play, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll feed him again. He goes out for a breather, and that's when Cole Hardman fumbles it through the end zone. So I was like, which is so stupid, like you said. But I mean, I think they were giving Pacheco a breather. So I'm like, okay, don't get in on this one. Then get Pacheco back in there, give me that second touchdown. I was so excited about my 2 touchdown slip almost getting there. So just had to tell a quick Pacheco tilt story because I do like the Pacheco touchdown call. Tyler, your favorite anytime touchdown this week?
We'll go a little different, Meg.
Yeah.
Why don't we just cover that entire backfield? They can't pound in with the running back. You're telling me Mahomes ain't tucking it, running away from these guys at plus 500. He hasn't ran one in this postseason, but he's been doing a lot of running. This defense is the best defense they've played. They might not find many holes. I think this is a spot where he could run one in.
Okay. So, yeah. So you're all over the Mahomes prop, including Mahomes anytime touchdown at plus 500. I like it. Jayme, what's your favorite anytime touchdown for Sunday?
I'm going to go back to the well. I went with Gus Edwards last week, and I'm going to do it again. The thesis last week was they get to the 5-yard line. They're going to hand him the ball, and they did do that. Unfortunately, he got stuffed, and then Lamar ended up throwing the touchdown pass to Aguilar. So give me Gus Edwards. He's like plus 140. And then this isn't an actual bet, but I did think it's kind of interesting. David Montgomery's like plus 170 for a touchdown, which is just so – it's so different than what his market has been throughout the course of the season, right? Like, and obviously they're playing the 49ers, but normally he's like minus 120, minus 125, and he's still going to get
most of the goal line 100% still. Yeah.
So I would not be shocked at all if they get down into the 3-yard line. They're going to hand the ball off to David Montgomery. But I prefer Gus. I think it is just a little safer too, personally. But
I mean, I still like putting that one on the sheet because I like the Montgomery. Like you said, the price value that you're getting there.
Yeah, exactly. And Gibbs has scored a lot too recently, but most of his are from 10 plus
farther
yards.
out.
Yeah, he's not getting them,
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Montgomery's still getting the goal line work. It's just Gibbs is getting there on those explosive runs. So I'm going to stick with the Kittle theme. You could go Ayuk at minus 125, but I'm going to go Kittle at plus 100. I think he gets another touchdown this week. So I like George Kittle to get in the end zone again for the 49ers. We think they're putting up a lot of points. I think he'll be a part of that. Of course, CMC will get probably 2 as well, but that's like plus 150 for him to get 2 or something insane. Any final thoughts on props or anytime touchdown, guys? Any other things catching your eye? Think we covered it? All right.
That's good for me.
I think this is a fun slate for props and anytime touchdown. So we'll have a full slate filled out on Saturday for Sunday with all the picks, all the props, all the anytime, everything that we've talked about, and then all these official plays up on the FanSpeak betting card on fanspeak.com. Let's end the show, and then we can do final thoughts with a same game parlay and each pick a leg. See if we can pull together a show same game parlay. Now, I'm going to do it on FanDuel. You can do it, from each game if we prefer, or if you'd rather focus on one game, I'm fine with that too. Do you guys have a preference?
Either one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, then I'll just let you go first. Spread, just take the wheel here. And what would be your first prop side, anytime touchdown, any leg you want that you want to add to our show same game parlay? What do you feel the most?
This has already been given out, so I apologize for the theft, but I'm not a prop guy, so deal with it. Lamar Jackson, over 60 yards rushing.
That's fine.
This is the biggest game of his career.
Yep. Yeah.
Why would you not use the place where he's most gifted? I mean, there's times where he looked like he was better than any running back, right? I mean, it's like basically like you have you're hiking the ball to a player with Christian McCaffrey's elusive running ability. I think they're going to take advantage of that. And I don't know for sure, but Willie Gay being injured, that's who Kansas City uses to spy a quarterback. Yeah. Josh Allen got over the same number last week, right? And I think we're getting a better runner this week. There's no reason to not take advantage of that. And the way that Lamar's been passing the ball, you have to respect that. I think that's going to give him even more room to run. And I know I stole one of your picks, but sorry, guys. I'm taking Lamar Jackson over on his rushing.
I like they said, deal with it.
Yeah,
that's totally fine. Tyler mentioned it first. I loved it and added it to my list because I really like the Lamar rushing line. So anyways, Tyler, what is your show parlay leg that you want to add?
Give me Chiefs plus 3.5.
Okay.
Mahomes plus points. I think that's a solid leg. I also think that kind of would boost the odds a little bit with him taking the Lamar rushing prop and then us taking.
Yeah, I always love doing like some uncorrelated stuff. Absolutely. All right, so I got Chiefs plus 3.5. Jayme, what is your favorite leg to add here?
Well, I thought about doing Lamar Jackson TD just because it was kind of correlated, with spreads rushing. But I got to stick with my guy. I'm going to go Gus Edwards anytime TD.
There you go. Okay.
40. Let Lamar do the legwork, get down at the 5, and then hand it to the big boy.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Plus 140. Okay. Question is, do I stay in this game or do we do a 2-game parlay? I'm trying to decide here. You know what?
Some Frisco action, Meg.
Okay, you want me to throw in some Frisco action?
Throw in some Frisco action. We still want to have action going into that second game.
Okay, give us some.
We don't want to just cash our money. We might be tempted to go out to sushi rather than watch the second game, Meg.
Come on, we're all watching the second game, but I like
It'll be on at the restaurant.
And we've all been talking about the San Francisco props. So let's just go right to it. We'll go Brock Purdy. I'm going to play it safer. I like the 3 touchdowns, but let's play it a little safer and do over. I think all these quarterbacks are going over 300. We could alt it. I'm just going to go safe though. I'm going to do his line, which is basically 275 plus. So over 274.5. So that takes it to 18-1, essentially plus 1835 on FanDuel. You have Lamar Jackson 60 plus, Kansas City Chiefs plus 3.5, Gus Edwards anytime touchdown. And then the sweat continues into the 49ers Lions, Brock Purdy over 274.5 for 1835 on FanDuel. This will be on the sheet, and I like it. I think we got a winner built here, so I'm excited. All right, final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here. This is fun as always. Final thoughts, spread.
The NFL continues to be the best entertainment value in America. And while I'm more profitable in the NBA, it feels like more of a grind. And making money watching the NFL, it's just truly a joy. The buildup for this week, the way that each game feels like an event. It's not just just grind that baseball and tennis and the NBA give you, right? Every single game is an event. And this weekend is just going to be fantastic. And regardless of the result, any of these teams can win, right? I could be wrong about everything. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to be in for a very interesting Super Bowl. I think all 4 of these teams have excellent storylines. So the great part about it is we're going to place our bets. We're going to win or lose. But when we wake up next Monday morning, we're going to have a fun 2 weeks to look forward to, because whichever of these 2 teams advance, they're going to be fun for us to talk about for 2 weeks, to break down for 2 weeks, and to celebrate their achievements. So I'm excited for this weekend, and I think we're in for some great matchups. And hopefully one of these games that we get this weekend will be as exciting as that Buffalo Bills Kansas City Chiefs game was last weekend, because I'm thinking not only are we going to make some money, we're going to make some memories too.
Yeah, there we go. I like that spread. Yeah, I again do not do well when it's not football season. So I'm trying to, it's bittersweet.
What do you mean? It's either football season or baseball season, Meg. You'll be fine.
That's true.
You're going to be sad for like 2 days, and then you're going to start diving into points per attempt. You're going to be just waiting for that schedule to drop. You're going to be scouting the combine, Meg. You're going to be sending me all these messages about the Senior Bowl. And
that's next. Yeah.
You're going to be sad for like 2 days, and then it's going to be like a breakup.
It's Meg. Like
be right back, swiping right on all these new players that you can draft on Best Ball. You'll probably find some rookie that we've never heard of.
Like Sam Laporta?
And all seem so smart, because I'm just going to take your work and I'm going to tell everyone, oh, Sam Laporta is really good, and they're going to think I'm sharp. But little did they know that was your work that allowed me to find
thank you.
that
I
gem
love it.
in the rough.
I love it. But you made all good points about how wonderful the NFL is. So I'm going to enjoy these two games immensely. And I think if you guys are willing, we can come back next week, do like an early look at Super Bowl and maybe talk through some fun, like what we got right and wrong this season. And then of course, Super Bowl week, do like a just fun, absolutely final bets, propapalooza or something, So we got more content.
Fun, and we can probably talk a little more about the upcoming season too.
Yeah.
Because
we'll have more
I'm thinking most of the coaches should be set by then.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully
and we'll start to be looking about
soon.
what quarterbacks are going to end up where.
Exactly. Tyler, final thoughts for this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one. I think we're getting one thriller of a game. I think the other one might be a blowout, but hopefully we get 2 entertaining games. And I mean, sucks that the season's ending, but we did good this season. We'll be able to survive those couple months of just baseball and some NBA NBA will last up until about June spread.
Yeah.
May, June, and then we hit the dark ages until football comes back. So.
But after the draft, after the NFL draft, I'm ready to start drafting best ball. So it feels like it's year round. You know what? One thing I'm going to do this year though, Meg, I'm going to try and have all my drafts wrapped up by August.
Really? You don't want that last minute?
To do any. Just going back and looking at my stuff, my teams I drafted my early teams were so much better.
Well, you got much more closing line value and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I missed out on then you miss out on like the Kyron Williams type
we
stuff.
We also need to get spread on the page, Meg, where after he makes his first 3 picks, he doesn't go, my team sucks. And then throws the team right in the trash the rest of the draft.
I mean, my advance rate wasn't that good. Some of those my team sucks were correct.
Oh, well, that's not going to be the case this year. Yes, it will go right into best ball season. But Jayme, final thoughts for Sunday?
Yeah, well, I also agree with spread too. I did my best ball team was the first one I did, and it was before the schedule was even released. They did nothing. I had Tyreek Hill, who missed week 1, Keenan Allen, who missed, Christian Watson, who missed. So ended up not doing much. But I do agree. But I can't wait for that anyways. Once May comes, I'm going to be doing it all throughout the year, all the way up until lock. It's whenever the contest closed, I'm going to be the last guy in there. Right?
My teams I got on that Labor Day weekend were not good.
Honestly, some of mine towards the end weren't very good either.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, mine in September were pretty
what we got to do this year? We got to fade those line moves. When Calvin Ridley goes from 44 to 17, scratch him off your list. When Darren Waller goes from 88 to 44, scratch him off your list. Meg, I am going to unfollow every single beat writer starting in July because those training camp highlights are the bane of my existence. If I see Calvin Ridley or Darren Waller beat someone in shorts one more time and I move them on my draft board, I'm going to punch myself in the head.
100%. And that's the worst part is I was high on those guys too, and it made me even higher on them. Like I love Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I love
it's like confirmation bias when you see it. It's like, oh, I felt this way anyways. So now I feel
okay. Let me go make sure I get more, and I'm taking 3 to 4 picks even earlier. It's like okay.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this weekend. It's tough. We only got 3 games left, so we just got to enjoy it. Obviously, the Super Bowl is the absolute best, but these 2 are going to be these are 4 of the best teams in the league, right? So let's enjoy it. Let's hope for some good games, and I'm excited to get this going. Let's see who makes it into the Super Bowl.
That's right. Let's see who makes it into the dance. It's always fun doing the show with you guys. Again, we will have the NFL betting card up by Saturday. And if you want to stay tuned, I'm going to be on with Steve and Andrew Robb breaking down. He won $5,000, Andrew did, on the Battle Royale streets on Underdog. He'll be breaking down and doing a live draft with us. They're obviously shorter pods this week, which is 2 games, but we'll be doing some live Underdog drafts. So check that out. And so we will have that. We will have the betting card. Check all that out. And then again, we'll come back the next 2 weeks and just break down this exciting Super Bowl. So thank you guys so much for joining us. For Jayme, for Spread, for Tyler, I'm Meg, and we'll see you next time.